So, Vlookup. Vlookup is one of the best formulas you can learn in Excel. It lets you look for specific values in a range of cells and take related information of that value that's in the same row and take it to the cell that you did the Vlookup on. For example, let's say that you have a list of employees and their salaries and you want to input in another cell an employee name and get the specific salary of that employee. You can do that with Vlookup. In this video, you'll become a Vlookup expert, and also I'll show you a couple of variations on that formula and the new improved Vlookup called Xlookup. Let's check a little bit of how the Vlookup is composed. This formula has 4 parameters. The first one is called the lookup value, and the lookup value is exactly that. What value are you looking for? Then you'll have to input a range of cells that contains that value that you're looking for. Something really important is that because of how Vlookup works, in the first column of that cell range, you'll need to have the value that you're looking for. If it is not in the first column, then the formula won't work and won't find the value that you input in the cell. The third parameter is the column number that you want to return. In this case, if you have 3 columns and you want to return the value on the third column, then you'd have to input a number 3 in this parameter. And finally, you can input, if you want an approximate match, in this case you'll have to put a true or an exact match. In this case it will be a false. Alright, now that you've learned how the Vlookup is composed, let's do a couple of exercises for you to understand the function better. If you want to follow up, I've added a link to this file in the description below. In this first exercise, let's say that we have a store and we have a table containing categories that we sell and the sales of each of those categories. We want to get the total sales of a specific category that we input in this cell. So to do that, let's use a Vlookup. I'll just delete this value right here. And as we just saw in the formula Syntaxis, we'll just put a new formula and we'll look for Vlookup. Right, there we go. And here are the different parameters that we have to fill. So, what value are we looking for? Well, we'll be looking for the value that we input into this cell, F2. And what's our table array? Okay, here we'll be looking for the value on F2 in the A column, and we want to return the value on the B column. So remember, as I told you a little bit ago, in Vlookup you always need to put in the first column of the range that you're looking the column of the values that you want to match. For the third value, we want to put the number of the column that we want to return. In this case, it'll be the 1, and the second column we want to get back. So I'll put a 2 right here. Finally, we want an approximate or an exact match. For this example, let's use an exact match. So I'll write false right here. I'll close the formula, tap enter. We have an error. This is because we don't have any value that it can look for. So let's look for art. I'll just write art right here. And there we go. We have exactly the value of the sales of the art category. Now, if I look for paper, let's write paper right here. There we go, 76K and 76K. For our second example, let's go to the tab called Vlookup table. And in this exercise, we have 2 tables. The first one contains a customer ID, some information of the location of this customer, the region, and the total sales of this customer. And in the second table, we have also a customer ID, the name of that customer, and we want to get the value of the sales of each of these customers into this sales column. So let's use Vlookup again to solve this exercise. Alright, to do this, let's do a Vlookup again. I'll open my formula, Vlookup, right, and the value we want to look for is this customer ID that we have in both tables. So I'll select the K2 cell. Then for the table array, we want to look in the first column the customer ID from the first table, and we want to get the total sales. So let's do a range from A2. I'll go to D2 and then down, pressing Ctrl Shift and down. And I want to fix this range because we'll be dragging this formula for each of these rows to have the exact match from this table. And in this case, for the column index number, we want to bring back the fourth column. Remember, you have to count from the first column to the one that you want to bring, and it will be the value on this parameter. So it will be the fourth one. And finally, we want an exact match. So I'll put a false here. Press enter. Then I'll bring this to all my cells. And just like that, we have exactly the value from this other table. How about some variations on this formula? The first variant on Vlookup we'll see, it's called Hlookup, and as you may guess, the V is for vertical and the H is for horizontal. So in Hlookup, you'll work with rows instead of columns. Let's see a little bit more. Similar to the first exercise, we have a cell with the value we want to look in this table and a cell where we want to return the sales of the value we looked for. I'll just delete California. We'll use Hlookup instead of Vlookup. And here you have the same parameters. First we got a lookup value. In this case it'll be the state. And for this example it's the C4 cell. Then our table array. So let's come here to the B2 cell, then I'll drag it down, and finally all the way to the right using Ctrl Shift and right. And the same as before, well actually no, we don't have to fix this one. Then the row index we want to return. For this example, we will be counting, but instead of doing it from left to right, it'll be from top to bottom. We want to return the second row. Remember, as before with Vlookup, you have to have the lookup value in the first row, just as you had the lookup value in Vlookup in the first column. And finally, the type of lookup, and we want an exact match again. Okay, I will close it, and let's input a value right here. So let's try with Utah. Okay, there we go, exactly the same value. Now let's change it to maybe Indiana. Let's see. Okay, there we go, perfect. Okay, we're almost there, and the last variant I want to teach you, it's called Xlookup. Xlookup is awesome because it basically, it's the evolution of Vlookup and Hlookup. Actually, it renders both of those functions obsolete because it combines them both in a friendlier way than with Vlookup and Hlookup. Let's see how it works. The same as before, we'll want to get our total sales using a lookup by the customer ID in both of our tables. In this case though, we'll use the Xlookup formula. What's the difference? Well, you also have a lookup value, but then you have a lookup array and a return array, and you have a couple of parameters that are optional. So how it works? Well, our lookup value will be again our customer ID, and for our lookup array you don't have to get the whole table including the lookup values and the returning values. In Xlookup they are separated, and that's better. I'll teach you why. Our lookup array will be our first column on the first table. For the return array, you just have to put the range of cells where you want to get the value from. So let's put our total sales range right here, and let's close this function for now. It's easier because you don't have to count the number of columns from the first column of your lookup array. You just put First range of cells, second range of cells, and that's that. You get the value that you're looking for. I'll just fix the ranges right here. And then I'll drag it down. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Little mistake right there. Okay, that's perfect. So here we have it. Xlookup, way simpler than Vlookup and Hlookup. Now for the optional parameters, we have an if not found parameter. So let's see. We can say, we can put any value here actually. So I'll just put a message that says not found. This is for error handling. Okay, I'll just change the range for this example. We'll put a 2. And here we got it, not found. So I hope you learned a lot in this video, and if you got value, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Here's another one if you want to keep learning, and yeah, bye, thanks.